Hey, what's going on, guys? This is PokeTalk podcast where we talk about current events, mostly in the Pokemon TCG space. And I'm here with Phillip as my co-host. What's going on, mate?
Sell it all! Sell it all before it hits zero!
It's going to zero, folks. Get rid of your sealed. Burn it. Send it off. Sell it.
Sell. It's Black Tuesday.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about something spicy that has taken over the entire hobby, not just Pokemon, but that is the use of CT scanning in Pokemons to scan sealed products. And yeah, kind of a bummer. Like Pokey Brian, he made a little video just kind of ranting about it. How humans just literally ruin everything that we touch. And yeah, it's out there now. This has definitely been happening before this, but now it's gained some traction. It's the talk of the interwebs on PokeTubing and even sports side of things. I saw a sports card investor was making videos on it. It's like inescapable. Everyone's posting stories and everything. So yeah, you can use a little CT scanner action to see the contents of Pokemon packs and Pokemon boxes and other products. Yeah, we're just going to jump on into it.
Well, it was one of those things because I've been kind of busy a little bit this week, and it was one of those things where you sent me a PM about it, and I was like, CT scans, you mean like medical stuff? And so I kind of had to watch the video on it to get a full grasp of what was going on. And I mean, it's in its infancy, but the benefits are clear and the benefits are there. It's not going to have a whole lot of effect on Pokemon as it currently stands, but the other parts of the TCG and Pokemon or in the collectible world, it will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a couple things, like I saw this last week. It's been building up for like a week now, and now pretty much everyone, like I had somebody who was like my friend outside of the hobby, like a real life friend from school days, and he even sent me an article. He's like, man, this is crazy. What do you think about this? So it's kind of like the 2020 feeling where people, are reaching out to me to see what I think about something who don't normally collect or I don't normally talk to about cards. So it's getting out there as big news. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like I'm sure people were already doing this. It makes sense that it works. I'm sure people are just catching on. And then it's just really exploded. So yeah, it's kind of crazy to see that people didn't really, to me, consider this as a possibility. But yeah, basically the stuff we have seen, there's been a couple of YouTubers who brought this up. There was an E4 thread where they went and talked about it, and we're not going to name like the company or anything like that, but there was this company that's basically like, hey, look at what we can do. And then this YouTuber jumped on board and got in contact with them, emailed them, sent them a bunch of stuff to test. And they posted those videos. Long story short, they were like, we're just showing this technology because we use it sometimes to open up boxes carefully. And the guy making the follow-up video or one of the rant videos I saw were kind of going in on this corporate guy. But it makes sense because it looks like they scan fossils. I'm sure if like during archaeological digs, if they find, a container of some sort, they use this technology to like see what could be in it and stuff like that. So it makes sense, but you could tell they were using the corporate talk and the corporate gears were turning, and they were like, oh, we just use this to carefully open boxes so we don't damage products or contents. And it's like, yeah, but the light bulb went off, and no more than like 48 hours later, they have a dedicated section on the website where you can send them cards. They have prices listed. They have discounts for bulk orders. It's like, okay, like we knew what they were doing here. So yeah, when you first saw those prices and how much it cost per pack, what were your thoughts? I think
I mean, I was like, holy shit, that's
$65.
expensive, is what I said. Is holy shit, that's expensive, is what I said. I almost had to, I had to read it, not just look at the number, because I had to make sure what I was reading was correct. So, I mean, it really is, as far as Pokemon is concerned, right now, it's only really going to have an effect on vintage. And I mean like first edition vintage, maybe Gold Star era, especially something like the Deoxys EX, or like you're trying to make a run for a Gold Star, see if there's a Charizard, Rayquaza in there, or whatever. It's going to have incentive, and you know what? It also serves. We are looking at like, oh, what this might do for the hobby, but there is kind of another thing as well, not just the potential destructive aspect it could quote unquote have, but it's like some of those people that can't control themselves and feel the need to drop a grand on a pack or whatever and open it and then find out it's not shit, or it's not, or they've lost a bunch of money. This allows individuals to get that feeling, that fix, if you will, of like opening the pack without being out the money.
Mm-hmm.
And further down the line, it's something that it's this thing is in such an infancy. There isn't a like um categorization or a certification. And what I love it is, it even says on here, additionally, we plan to authenticate that high value boxes contain the correct products and not GI Joe cards. And I said that before I even read that aspect. I sent you. I was like, so no more GI Joe. So like, there is, for the high end stuff, there is a peace of mind, and you can legitimize something so where you don't get scammed. There is usefulness within the hobby. However, there's also the ability to potentially abuse it. But I mean, when people, like, a lot of people are talking about, like, oh, what's this going to do for Pokemon? It's like, it's going to be the high end collectors that are going to be able to utilize this. They say they want to make this available to everybody. But here's the thing: at $65, $75 a pack, and with a booster box to be determined, so we're talking in the hundreds and maybe even thousands, and that's already an immediate barrier of entry, right? Like, if
Yeah.
you have enough money to spend $10,000 on a booster box and then do another 2,000 or whatever it is to get a CT scan, it's going to require a lot of money. This benefits, again, really only higher end collectors. And I know it's saying that it's like, I mean, it's great that the knowledge is out there and obviously we all know about it now. But I mean, it's just, I think it only implicates so many people within Pokemon. It's a very small percentage that it might affect.
Yeah. I think, yeah, with that price point, it basically eliminates the ultra modern Pokemon market unless you have like a bigger scanner, um, which would be possible by a big corporate like company to, establish a business like this. If you had a bigger scanner where you could scan cases, so you had like cases of Evolving Skies
Yeah, I was about to say
or
cases
something
involving
like
Sky would be
that.
the only thing I could think of for ultra modern.
Yeah. But then I'd have to look at their pricing for like cases and stuff.
Exactly. It won't be cheap.
But it would make sense. Like it does make sense right now for first edition heavy packs or, base set, unlimited even if you had some. But I don't know. You have to weigh the cost there. But yeah, first edition base set heavy packs. It's gonna be hard to buy a legit heavy pack that might have a Charizard in the future because those things are going to get scanned like crazy. Um,
Yeah.
there are two things that I want to mention this kind of early on, though, so maybe we can grab some attention if people are thinking of staying for the whole episode. But there's two problems that I had with what a lot of people are saying. Um, one is the like new technology aspect, which I kind of told you about.
Hmm.
Like this has already been a thing, obviously with the CT scanners, but if we're just now hearing about it on this level and this small of scale, like this has definitely been going on behind the scenes. There have been people, hearsay, who have basically said that this has been a thing, especially on the sports side of things. It's just, it took all this momentum and spotlight to really make a thing out of it. It's kind of like, when everyone's talking about investing in something, that's the time to sell because everyone and their mother knows. Well, that's kind of the point we're at with this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's been going on for a while. And me being in the medical field and like taking literally hundreds of patients down to get CTs and like standing in the CT office watching the scan happen as it goes down their body. I think a lot of people were kind of confusing how the image works. Like I think a lot of people need to, I mean, it's essentially taking like, if you take one of those like egg cutters with the wires, and you take a knife and you start making slices all the way down your body, like across your eyeballs, nose, but hundreds of them. You can look at each individual slice and basically do like a boomerang or like a gif of your body going through those slices so they can see all the tissue in there. So
I
what
was gonna say it might be almost, it might be a little bit. That's not a bad one, but kind of think of a negative from a film as well, but it's on a 10 piece of foil or something like or something metal, and that's what it's gonna look like. That might help kind of with the imagery.
yeah.
Some people might have, especially from millennials, who might be more familiar with like what a negative from a film strip looks like, and have it be on a tin foil, and that's kind of what you'll get. So essentially, you'll get the outline.
Yeah, or like a traditional x-ray. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
basically what
Yeah.
you just explained. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
if you took the x-ray and you put it horizontal and then you had like hundreds or thousands of them all the way down your body. It's hard to explain, but yeah, basically it's like the big thing that I want to make a point of. It's like it's not actually taking a picture of the thing. Like some people were saying, "Oh, in this video, it looks like Yu-Gi-Oh cards are easier because the name of the card is hollow." But it's like it's not looking at the shiny material and picking that up more. It's looking at the literal texture of the thing. So with Yu-Gi-Oh, the cards that have the hollow names, they're actually indented in the card. So there's like a card surface and you can literally feel it with your finger, like the name is actually indented. Kind of like a stamp or something on some Pokemon promos.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it stands out so much because it's like an entirely defined layer. And they did mention that textured cards stand out more. That makes sense because, it's a different layer. Lorcana cards were a little more difficult, which also makes sense because they're all printed on, it's flat. There's no texture there, with exception to like some of the, enchanteds. Maybe they could pick up the texture of that hollow a little better, but even the foils of Lorcana cards, they're just like a cold foil across the whole card, so it's all level. There's no texture and stuff like that. So that would make sense why it's harder to pick that up. So definitely textured cards, absolutely sports cards like
Mm-hmm. The packs of wool or the like jersey
patches.
piece or
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah,
It's
patches.
going to pick those up like a sore thumb, but those will be hard to tell. Like you'd be able to tell there's a cutout there, but it would be hard to find exactly what piece of the jersey that is. But
Or who.
if they signed the card, maybe they indented the card or the ink
Mm-hmm.
sticks up a little more where they could tell that. So yeah, the more layers, the less layers there are in the product, the easier it is to see the product. But the more layers of the product itself, like as in the cards themselves, being textured or all that, the easier it is to pick up as well. So a couple factors interacting in like a seesaw manner, but like I think the absolute best thing to pick up would be like the individual sports packs, how their wrapping is like even thinner than Pokemon on a lot of sets. And then if you had like a textured card or a signature or a patch or a jersey or something, like those would stick out like a sore thumb. So yeah, it's crazy. There's been talk of this. I remember there being a thread on this a few years ago. Like, couldn't somebody like scan something like this? I'm pretty sure we've even mentioned it, like to some extent, about scanning them somehow. But
I think it was an X-ray maybe, which is kind of what a CT scan is.
yeah, so it's nevertheless, even if this has been around 10 plus years, it's finally got the hype where everyone's talking about it. It's nothing new per se, but there's finally been a company that stepped up and said, hey, we're going to do this. Give us money, we'll scan your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sports is what I would be most concerned. If you were in baseball, especially if you had sealed, I would be fucking worried. Or excuse me, whatever. I already said it.
Get the
Might as well
soap.
just, might as well just talk like how I usually talk would be easier. But so again, with Pokemon within the hobby right now, minimal effect, especially if you're not involved in vintage. Now, what's going to be interesting isn't so much the effect on Pokemon now, it's going to be in the future. I do like the authentication and the potential of serialization, which they have already kind of discussed on their site. That I find interesting. Because we have mentioned before, it's like sell, 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 right? Like, what was it, 2 years ago we were selling all of our sealed stuff. We were
Mm-hmm.
worried about like this seal paranoia, and then the whole stuff with Logan Paul and the GI Joe kind of made things even worse. Well, it makes it to where you don't have to worry about that anymore. Say if it's a hidden, like in 20 years, it's a hidden Fates booster box or a hidden Fates case, you can know for a fact that it's legit. So I do find there is some benefits within the hobby for Pokemon,
Yeah.
and this also, in some ways, this helps protect people from their own selves because there is a very notable gambling addiction emerging within the millennial and Gen Z generations. And will people use this service for that? I will see. It's hard to say because people still want to get that fixed, but it kind of helps protect people in some ways.
1,000
Obviously,
V-Bucks per scan.
or whatever it is. I'm just saying there's a lot more benefits within Pokemon than necessarily detriments. The issue becomes in the sports card world. But here's the thing: the sports card world now, for decades, it seems like has been ruled by the most wealthy hands, and that's usually how it is if you look at any hobby. So it's like that just basically makes it to where the rich get richer. It just sucks now because if they make this potentially more economical and more accessible, or say if you are close to this place where it's located, you can just walk on in and just get the service, and then you start becoming a seller. Well, that kind of makes it scary. It really does, because then you buy it from, it makes it to where you only want to buy from like big dealers essentially,
Yeah.
because you no longer want to, you can't trust these people essentially would be the idea behind it. So you can only buy from larger LGSs or your sports card stores because they're the ones that in theory won't be doing this.
Mm-hmm. And in theory, like if I was a, not so responsible person at work, like if I wanted to, like there's times where we're definitely slow enough where if I had a box, I could definitely walk it down there and like, hey, scan this real quick, and I could sit in, at the computer while the me and the dude like go through the slides and just check it out real quick. Like,
Honestly, if you only did it once in a while, they probably wouldn't do anything to you.
yeah, I mean, it would be pretty darn easy.
Yeah.
And like a hospital that's, not that busy most of the time. But yeah, I'm not into sealed, nor will I ever be. So yeah, not gonna be scanning things myself. But yeah, it's interesting, and I could see where, say, someone. I feel like the people who are most affected are those, obviously investing or buying up
Hmm.
very rare packs. Like if you only collected first edition heavy packs, Like that was your collection. You're probably affected the most by this. Maybe. Maybe you get the card scanned and you find some Charizards.
And it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, maybe you have trouble selling because people are like, well, were they scanned? Were they not scanned? It'd be a nightmare selling those things right now.
Well, and we looked online on eBay, and there wasn't a whole lot of heavy packs even like that have sold in the last 90 days for the first edition, which tells you kind of where first edition's at, to be completely honest. But we also didn't see really a whole lot really listed. I mean,
And they've been drying up for a while too.
yeah, I mean there isn't a lot listed. I mean there are a couple, don't get me wrong. There's a Charizard one somebody wants like 25,000 for it. That's heavy. You know, there's like I mean there is a bunch of them. I shouldn't say bunch, but they're what I'm saying is you can't like learn this information and go buy up all the heavy packs and try this out because there isn't a much there because already since 2020 it seems like a lot of the individual first edition loose packs have kind of dried up
Yeah.
and nobody's opened more. And I mean, there's a lot of people have them collected, I'm sure, and they don't want to sell them. I don't blame them. They actually, because they're doing it because if you can afford it, chances are you're either doing it to flip when it's high, which that's a whole other thing too. If you would sell it right now, you're going to lose money most likely, unless you've had that first edition pack since like 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a lose situation as far as value of those things go
Mm-hmm.
because people are gonna worried about if it was scanned or not. And even if it was scanned and you're selling it, it's like, yeah, I scanned it, it's legit. Well, now the person's like, oh, well, he saw, the normal person's gonna be like, oh, well, he saw what's exactly in the box and he still wants to sell, so there's,
Not Charizard.
probably nothing in there. So you can't win in that situation. Like, no, it's not scanned. Okay, well, is it even legit? Is he lying to me? Yes, it was scanned. Oh, well, why are you selling it then? Was there nothing in there? It just overcomplicates things. It's a lose lose. Um, unless you truly just want to collect the product for what it is, and maybe it just works itself out. Like all the boxes that have Charizards in them will eventually be opened, and all that's left will be scanned and not opened. So then most people will know, like, oh, well, all the Charizards have been scanned or found. This isn't a perfect world where like 100% of the boxes were scanned. So, like, you would just never see another first edition booster box opening ever because they've all been scanned in that scenario.
Well, there can only be a lot of the, again, people aren't selling those right now because of the price of the market, but there's only so many of those even around. Like we're talking what a couple hundred at most, probably. Amongst all the various collectors and hoarders like Gary, it's like
Yeah, I'd
that's the
say like
most.
300 to 500, maybe.
Maybe, maybe, it's, and that's one of those things where people are, that's like, you'll no doubt hear in like 20, 30 years, case of first edition Pokemon found in the storage locker, or something along those lines. Like, I'm sure that will probably happen, right? But
Yeah.
like, overall, I think a lot of the ones that are still left, I'm not saying you can account for them. I'm just saying you can almost guarantee they're all in. People know what they have, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't know what they're holding. So you're talking about collector slash investors' hands that these boxes are in. Um, I mean, you have so many limited options with that, and there's still inherent value, even if it has a Charizard or doesn't have it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's value there. I just think the value's going to suffer in the short term. Um and if the programs get better, if the, you know, small scale CTs get better, more accessible, maybe,
That's what you're looking at for sure.
yeah, maybe prices soften even more so. But I think with, like, if we learn nothing else than what we know today, and that there's a company that can scan packs for you, it's like, I think the prices suffer either way.
Well, and the I was just kind of looking at it. I was curious what the price was for ultra modern, for the case of Evolving Skies. and it's about 4,500 to 5,000 for a case of Evolving Skies. Um, some went lower, some went higher, some is like 44. I mean, it's we'll just say 4,500. So say you hold on to it. At this point, they're not going to reprint it. I would think. I mean, it's been 3 years now since the set.
They'll sneak some ETBs out here and then, but
Maybe, but I don't think they're going to reprint booster boxes. Is kind of what I'm saying.
oh yeah,
But so I think these cases are mostly protected. So what you could do, and this is where it will affect Ultra Modern, is you would scan the Evolving Skies case because you want to see what's in there. Now that's going to be obviously expensive, right? Well, if you add it into your total cost of what you bought it for and you wait till an X amount to scan it, you will know if it's worth opening or not. And I think that's pretty much the only thing Ultra Modern that it would affect. It just matters how much they would charge for something like that for a whole case and how difficult that would be with all the layers.
and odds are it's not going to have the Moonbreon because people
One in
open
2,000
cases and
packs, whatever it was.
cases of that. Yeah,
Yeah. But I mean, that's the only Ultra Modern thing I can see where it affects. But if they're asking, 65 a pack for 11 plus packs and booster boxes to be determined, I mean, just doing a quick math, 30, 1,800, I mean, times 6. I mean, you're talking over 10 grand. If they I mean, I would assume it'd be less, but I'm just saying, I think the costs, I was thinking like maybe 1,000. And I was like, wait a minute, that's like $10,000 almost. Even if they have, I mean, that's even if they make it to where it's much significantly discounted, you're still looking at 5,000 to 6,000. And I mean, that's a lot, man. Like,
and then even if you did each pack, yeah, it'd be like 10,000 ish. Well, it'd be more than that. It's like six.
yeah, I think because I was just doing quick math, like 6 times 3 would be 18, 60 times 30 would be 1,800. So I know it'd be like 2,000 per box, so 12,000. Just doing quick math in my head, but like, yeah,
Yeah. And I'm
like
not too familiar with sports products. There's so many. That's why I don't collect sports.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many products and so many chases, and the amount of boxes you would have to scan there too to find like serialized cards. That'd be a whole nother thing. But yeah, I bet the serialized stamps show up really well on scanners like that. Here's another scenario too. What if you send them a heavy first edition base pack and they're like, "Oh shoot, this one has a Charizard. Let's keep it. Send them back another pack."
And you fake it, and you give them the wrong file or something. I mean, that'd be a lawsuit, but how could you prove it?
Yeah. Plus, there needs to be some way to like mark the packs. Like, I know that's never gonna happen, but in a perfect world, they would use something to like mark that something's been scanned. In another perfect world scenario, they would have a system in place where you print it off, like, or maybe had a tamper-proof seal that they sent you to put your pack in to know that it hasn't been messed with.
Well, again, though, what if you just have something that looks the same thing with that?
Oh yeah, but like tamper-proof with like unique serial numbers. Yeah, there's still some shady stuff that could happen,
saying, yeah.
but yeah, just have like unique serial numbers, and I don't know. There's still be ways around it, but something in place because like trust is going to be a big thing. It's like sending cards to a middleman. It's like, oh well, what if they're grading the same stuff, or what if they're grading one of their friends' stuff and they swap cards around. They're like, oh, this one got an 8, this one's yours, sorry. Stuff like that. So you just gotta build that trust thing and know what you're getting into. But yep, it's gonna be crazy. See what unfolds. There's lots of content out there about it here lately, and people are going nuts. So go check that out if you're interested in all that. But anything else that we could add? I really don't feel like we covered it pretty good. We kind of had like a ranty thing.
There's really nothing else in news. I mean, there was the Battle Partner set that is going to release, but we don't know hardly anything about it. It's all speculation. I mean, yeah, there really wasn't too much in the news world. We still got a little bit for Worlds, which is probably the next episode almost, isn't it?
Uh, it might be a
So it's going to
little
be
bit
happening
out
that
there.
weekend.
Yeah.
So the next episode's going to coincide with Worlds that weekend. So I don't know how much we're going to cover of that, but
Yeah. There is a good Poke Guardian article. If you go to pokeguardian.com, it's kind of like a Poke Beach like website where they report on stuff, but they do show the process a little more. Like on their article, they are scanning a Zapdos, and you can they have an image with like three images in it, and then on the top right image, you can kind of see like a blue line. That's kind of the slice thing that I was talking about. So yeah, they've tested this out with like a stack of cards, stack of packs, scanned boxes with packs in them. Um, you can even see a booster box that has been scanned. It shows like all the groups of cards packed together in stacks. And then in another image, you can see like the line across where it's the slice that you're looking at. So in a perfect scan, the card would be like super level and almost kind of hard to read with a CT, I would imagine. Because if it's like level as can be, you see the whole image at once. You could have a lot of artifact data in there. But, cards are imperfect, even in the slightest bit. So it's almost a benefit to have multiple slides with like multiple parts of the cards on them. And they have one image here of a Gardevoir or Garbodor VMAX, and the name really shows up well. The V really shows up well. The HP and attacks really show up
it's
well.
still, I want to say, it still looks like though with the booster box, it looks like it's going to be a pain. I mean, yeah, you can go through each layer, but like the other thing we didn't really mention, I don't think actually, is they send the file back. They'll send you like a free software, and it's up to you to be able to sift through it and recognize what you're going to have to look for it, essentially,
Yeah.
at least for now. So you're going to have to know what to look for. You're going to have to look for it. And sometimes with some of the imagery, it's kind of faint and it's going to take some time. Like, I mean, if you're going to do this, not only do you have to spend a lot of money, but you're going to have to spend a decent amount of time going through each one and to make sure you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
So I still think there's a few limiting factors overall, not just the cost.
And it's good enough where you could like count the individual cards that you're looking at, I would bet. So you could see like, okay, this one should be the hit. And then you could
Mm-hmm.
sit there. Going through these images is as simple as scrolling on your mouse scroll wheel. So you can just sit there and like, you know, scroll up, scroll down, previous slide, next slide. And it's very small. Like I said, there's thousands of little slides in each image that you can look at. So it's a pretty easy process, but it'd be like just time consuming sitting there
That's
and
what I'm saying. It's gonna be
like, ooh,
time consuming.
there's an identifying triangle. So what card in the pack has like this little part of the triangle on the card? You know.
You're gonna get familiar with that set real quick, though. That's for sure. And assuming there's only a handful of hits in that set, you can, if you originally go through it just to look for those few hits, you could probably do it relatively fast. Especially as you said, if you're able to actually go through each card and you have like a photo of every single card, then you can be like, okay, what is it? The 10th card of each pack. So okay, this should be the hit. All
Mm-hmm.
right. At that point, it will become easier, I suppose, with the time, but it's still going to take time, and that doesn't even take into they don't even have the cost of a booster box, or like well, I guess an ETB would probably be 500, $600, but like they don't even have a cost of a booster box. They know it's going to be exorbitant in terms of like the cost, so they don't even list it. I mean, if you don't list it, that's because you don't be like, holy shit, you want people to send you for information and then
Uh huh.
hopefully pay for your service for that.
Yeah.
even if you're talking about a first edition booster box, um, I mean, one, you're sending this over. You would probably fly out there, honestly, and do the in person thing because you're not going to want to send that in the mail. You kidding me?
Yeah. Yep, it's wild. Some of the comments I see on the Poke Guardian article, I just kind of want to read through those and maybe have a couple tidbits. So yeah, I just took all the fun out of collecting for people. Then they had a response. Wah, cry more about it.
Looks like
Cardboard
about the
hits
internet, that's for sure.
$0. It's like, yeah, I could see both arguments there. Like, we are just collecting cardboard, but there's something simple about just opening up like a childhood pack, and it's sometimes it's just whatever the latest set is. Sometimes you want to splurge and buy a big pack. Just to have to think about it now is kind of a downer. Yeah, way to take the fun out of it. More and more people will start buying singles, which that's basically what we do now. So this doesn't really affect us in any way, I will say, because I only have a very small slab collection, and other than that, just binder cards. So, yep, it doesn't affect me in any way. I'm out of the sealed game. There's a lot more factors aside from scanning that, freak you and I out. So,
Well, the problem is the fact how much of the game of the game now in Pokemon involves sealed, which we've been commenting. I think a lot of people have been consolidating the last few years. We've seen that firsthand at these cons, but it's going to implicate a lot of people within the hobby if they don't. I mean, eventually. Right now, it has minimal effect on the hobby, but what will it have in 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
yeah. Yeah, the prices, we should see a shift, but yeah, it's going to be interesting next couple months. Here's one from old Steve. Bad for the hobby. Pokemon will have to start putting code cards in the front and back to block this
That's brain dead.
technology.
Another card's not going to do anything. I understand what he's trying to say though, but they could is there some sort of material that they could put in there to prevent it? I'm not
So
saying
yeah,
metal,
lead,
but lead.
like
Oh, okay, there we go.
so yeah, the gowns that you use in the CT machine, like that Dux and all the techs, and even I sometimes there's a procedure going on. There's like a big lead vest that you put on, and then there's like a little thing around your neck to kind of protect your thyroid, like thyroid guard and all that. But it's just a layer of lead in there. They're super heavy. And if you're in there for like an hour plus long procedure, your shoulders start hurting for sure. For me anyway, some people down there doing those procedures all day, they get used to it, I guess. But I'm only down there once in a blue moon when we got someone like who's on a ventilator that I'm taking care of that needs something done, so I have to stay with them. Anyway, lead. Yeah, so they could put a lead card on the top and on the
No.
back. So
What about
like,
like a something? Oh no, that's
well,
he wouldn't get the
here's the
cancer.
thing though, like if you were to take a normal X-ray, right, and you had lead in front of you, or like lead in front of this pack, you would shoot it and it would just be all whited out. So you wouldn't be able to see anything behind that lead card. But with a CT, unless you have it wrapped in lead, like it wouldn't really work because on one of your slices of the CT, it'll be all white because that's where the lead is. But on the very next slice, it'll show the next card. So it's like a sandwich. If you have a sandwich and like the bread is lead, like the first couple slides will be the bread where you can't see, but then the next slide is the lettuce, next slide is whatever else. So you can still see because that's how it's layered. It like chops it up in layers like that. So unless you protected the sides as well of the whole stack, you'll still be able to see. So it's definitely more complicated than that, Steve.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like then they can't. It's not economical for them to do anything with it. Then it's going to be a part of the hobby now going forward,
Yep.
unless there's some other material that isn't lead that can imitate lead without giving everybody cancer. and that doesn't cost too much. And if it doesn't, then they're not going to do anything about it. It's just going to be a technological aspect that has become more economical and accessible that's going to now start affecting the hobby. Again, though, not Pokemon really.
Yeah. Yeah, there just isn't enough worth that much. And
For System Booster Box, that's it. Only thing worth getting scanned.
yeah, and people think and say Pokemon will be there one day. Maybe we will. Like we compare, sports, for example. It's just been around so long. A lot of the collectors in sports are much older, much more money, longer, been around longer into their careers, all that. So. Um, but another thing with sports, you're chasing these one of one cards. You're chasing like these super limited cards where Pokemon, like, yeah, the absolute rarest cards in existence still have multiple copies. Um, Granted, some of
Most.
those are like less than 10 for some, but even Illustrator, like we're estimating, even the OG numbers of like 30 something, that's 30 something more copies than some of these crazy one of one grails in
Hmm.
sports.
I mean, there
Um,
are some one-on-one in Pokemon, but like you have to really know what is it? The one with the dogs that were designed as primes for the Pokemon for Pokemon Company CEO. They were primes and they were designed after his dogs that passed away.
yeah, I'm not sure if those are
I'm pretty sure those are one on
exact one of
ones.
ones, but I think the only semi confirmed one of ones as of like the trophy talk, even when I said the illustrator numbers of like 30 something, that's why I said the original numbers, but it's estimated to be even higher than that now with all the copies that are popping
Yeah,
up. So you never really
which makes
know.
sense.
Yeah, and the snap
39
cards.
winners. Yeah, 39 winners plus probably they had a couple dozen saved.
Yeah, the snap cards are more rare than that, especially like the Pikachu. Um, there's like the fourth place OG artwork trophy is like super, like probably one of the rarest of all the mainline trophies there. And then you have the VS English set and all that. So there's definitely some rare things and more rare things than Illustrator, but just not like sports where it's like the one of ones.
Every set.
I was gonna say something else too that I kind of lost my track on. Um, well, I guess it might come back to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Pokemon's ever going to go that route because at least not with the current management. I'll say it like that. If they go that route, it's going to be under a different management. So right now, I don't see it happening. And we also have to keep in mind this isn't these aren't American companies. This is Pokemon, so they operate a little bit differently.
Yeah, I think the thing I was gonna say is about one of ones. Or like as far as modern stuff goes, there was when they had that Pokemon Day thing, and
Hmm.
they did. You remember they did a Post Malone card,
Yep.
a Katy Perry card, and
Yep.
a I want to say like a Spanish singer had like a Charizard card. But yeah, those are, I mean, assume those are one of one. But surely Pokemon made, even if they made a copy to stash away themselves, you know, maybe they made a sheet of those and they cut out like the best one and maybe they burned the rest. Who knows? But those might be some true one of ones, stuff like
Well, and
that.
Post Malone, see, I know he has a few Magic cards. My guess is he won't ever sell that card.
Yeah, he's a pretty big Magic guy, and yeah, he bought the One Ring. I'm sure he's never gonna sell that either. He just enjoys the game. I don't think he collects Pokemon or he hasn't been public about it, but as just a collector of things like Magic,
Yeah.
like he cherishes that for sure.
That's what I think too. He seems like the type of guy that would be sentimental about something like that and appreciative that they did something like that for him. So I could see. Like if he ever sells it, I could see him giving it back or having it put on display somewhere than him before he sells it.
Yeah, or like a charity thing with
Yep.
Pokemon or something.
Yep, or something like that. I could see him doing something like that. He's not going to sell it to reap the rewards. I'll just say that, unless something crazy happens to him and like it becomes a hug addict or something, you know. But like, I don't wish that on anybody. I'm just saying that's like, but that doesn't seem. He seems that's not him. So
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about it, and I'm game to wrap it up there. That's a good take. I might make it like an individual video on this too. That might be out before this episode, but yeah, I'm gonna watch a few others. Need to watch Alpha Investments video on it, see what he has to say. So
yeah,
anyway,
I
you
mean,
got anything else you want to cover?
not really. I think we did pretty good. Don't know what we'll have for the next episode. I know there's Worlds is going to be debuting or wrapping up the time the next one goes live. So maybe something about that. I know there's a ukulele that's going to be available for sale that I want.
Really? Yeah, that'd be
It,
kind of cool.
yeah, it's the Worlds. They're making a ukulele for the Worlds merch.
Yeah, I bet they'll have some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Our PSA order, I'm checking it now.
Oh yeah. Let's
Our
see. Let's see if
first
it's
one
updated.
is first. So I can't remember how much detail I went into, but I have a Giratina V alt art and some Charizards, most of which are Phillips on the Charizards.
I was about to say. I was saying most of all those Charizards are mine, aren't they?
I have one, so
Oh, you have one.
I
Okay.
did
Okay.
Giratina and Charizard, and then the other four Charizards I think you had
Yeah, because
are yours.
I put the Japanese in the bulk TCG because if it on the off chance it hit a nine, I think it was a 10, but on the off chance it hit a nine, I didn't want to have to pay extra and then like have even less money. I know it was only like a $10 difference, but still.
Yeah. So those arrived. They say arrived June or July 1st. Order prep July 16th, and those are in assembly still. Which we don't get updates on the weekend, so we might hear
hmm
something.
Monday or Tuesday, I bet we'll see something because
Yeah,
it's been in assembly for a whole week now,
we have a signature card that's in research and ID, and then 77 items, which are like the bulk order that's in grading. So
which
we'll give
is
you,
good.
yeah, we'll give you guys updates on those. Um, our main order seemed to jump to assembly pretty quick. Like it seems like it's going to be ahead of schedule, but
I think so.
they have the national. I'm sure they got a bunch of staff working there and on-site grading and a lot of resources there at the national. I'm sure.
Yeah, I expect will see the Charizard and Tina order. I expect we'll see that shipped out next week. I really do. Then I expect the bulk order is going to take another week or so. It maybe even a little bit longer. But yeah, I expect we get that Charizard back within 2 weeks. Like
Yeah,
not next week, but the week following, early the following week after that.
yeah, for sure. But we'll leave it there, guys. It's a spicy topic. Let us know what y'all think, and we'll see you in the next one. Wear those lead jackets.
Sell it all. Sell it now.
See ya.
Peace.